Sorry, I don't love you. Afraid I've grown accustomed to. Cause with you, something isn't wrong, something isn't wrong, something isn't right. I wish you could be happy.
Hey everyone, welcome to Geekdom is back, as is Jacob Tender. We are at episode 100. It feels like, sometimes just yesterday that we started this podcast and Jacob and I were doing episode 1 together. So Jacob, thank you for not only helping me kick off the podcast, but I believe you also did episode 50 and, quite a few in between.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me back, and congratulations on the anniversary again. It's amazing. It's incredible to me that you've done 100 of these, and this is like is it just weekly, or do you put some out, like twice a week, or how have you hit 100 already? It doesn't seem like you've been doing it for 100 weeks.
Well, I did start it in October 2016. I was actually looking at that the other day. I was like, it's been that long?
That's nuts. Jeez.
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense because, the Frank Ocean record came out sometime around that time, and I think that's when I had started doing some of my Frank Ocean cataloging stuff, and I think I came on the show to talk about that too. So,
yes.
Geez, wow, 2 years.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
It's been a long time, and I think I've only maybe taken like a week or two off during the holidays because most people are busy and not listening to podcasts anyway.
As you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I was like, okay, I think if I take the holidays off, people will understand. It'll be fine.
The holidays are a good time to catch up on the shows that you're not subscribed to but want to listen to.
Yeah.
Like the back catalogs of things that you're trying to catch up on and stuff. Like last holiday, when a majority of the shows that I follow took a break, I caught up on, I don't know, probably like 150 episodes of Roderick on the Line, because it's like all that I could listen to. I just went through the back catalog and plowed through.
Yeah, I have a few that I've slowly been making my way through. I've been listening to Business Wars quite a bit recently, just because they've done some really interesting pairings. They've done Nike and Adidas. I think Ford and Chevy is one of the next ones I'm coming up on, but I had just found out about that show recently. And I was like, okay, I'll listen to the Marvel and DC one. And if I like this series, I'll go back and listen to the rest. So I will probably be doing that in the coming months here as shows start to take more breaks.
That show sounds interesting. I've not listened to any of them, but if they do a Kraft versus Velveeta, let me know. That sounds interesting.
I'll have to check the back catalog there because they've done quite a few things. They have I think they have a single episode on Monster versus Beats. So it's like, oh yeah, Monster was a headphone company that was a thing,
I was always a Skull Candy kid myself.
I had quite a few of their earbuds as well.
They broke so fast.
I know, but they were so cheap you didn't really care.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I had some of their over-the-head ones, and they were just the cheapest things. Like, for the time, like, they sounded better than anything else I owned, but man, they were pretty terrible. I'm sure I have the remains of them somewhere in my like childhood closet. I'll have to look when I'm at my dad's.
Yeah, I think I have some on-ear ones somewhere, and it's just they crush your head too. I was like, oh,
yeah,
they're
really like super tight, and if you didn't want to like flex them too much, or they just snap. It's the cheapest plastic.
Yeah, I've since upgraded to better headphones for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. Well, today we are talking all about Pixar shorts. Due to my continuing internet problems, I did not get to watch quite as many of them as I was hoping for, but I watched, I feel like I watched at least like 20 of them, which is plenty to get enough of a conversation out of.
Yeah, I'd say so. And to be fair, I think we wanted to talk about Pixar more in general, but I really want to read that book. What is it? Creativity Inc.
Yeah, I have that, and I still need to read it as well. We can make that our homework, and maybe in 10 more episodes or something, we'll both have finished that.
Yeah, because I love Pixar. I've always loved Pixar, and I want to do an episode on that too. But I felt like I'd be more prepared if I had read that book, and yeah, we'll get to that at some point. But in the meantime, shorts are great because the great thing about these shorts is they're so short. Like it's in the name. They're super little things, like in and of themselves. And I think a lot of people would be most familiar with these because they play before the movies in the theaters and on the home releases as well. These are like the little teeny tiny videos, the little tiny individual stories that usually don't have anything to do with the main film, but are beautiful and are really interesting in and of themselves. So I thought this would be kind of a cool little mini topic.
Yeah, definitely. And I was surprised at how many of these I actually remembered, because I'm pretty sure some of the really old ones I had not seen the movies in theaters, because going to the movies wasn't really something we did a whole lot as a family. It was like we would wait for the, at the time, VHS and then later on the DVDs to come out. But, like, what is it, Luxo Jr., the one with the little junior light, the Pixar light there, and he's like kicking the ball around and everything. I was like, I remember this, but I don't remember where I saw it. So they must have included at least some of these in the releases too when you would buy them, because I was like, otherwise I have that was probably what I think it was like late 1980s when that one came out. I was like, I wasn't even around then, so how do I remember that?
Luxo Jr. was made in 86. It was actually the second of the Pixar shorts of this kind.
Yeah.
But it was included in the Toy Story 2 theatrical and home DVD.
Okay.
So, yeah. So when that came out, they stuck it on there because it kind of fit. Because I mean, at the beginning of any Pixar short, there's always like the Luxo stinger, like the logo comes up with the little Luxo animation. So I think people were familiar enough with Luxo at that point, because they had come out with several movies, that they were able to stick that on there as sort of a fun little Easter egg.
Yeah, and that one actually aged fairly well, I would say, but the very first one they did, The Adventures of Andre and Wally B, you can definitely tell that it was something a lot newer at the time that they were doing, because the animation is a little more rough. It's not terrible. It wasn't like horrendous to watch or anything. Plus, you have to consider I was watching these on YouTube, so the quality of the videos in general was not all that fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, Adventures of Andre and Wally B is really interesting because it was just as most of their early shorts were, these were very early tech demos.
Yeah.
Like these weren't meant to be like narrative pieces like the newer ones are. These were very, very short, and they were just supposed to show off the technology that they had or that they were developing at the time. And I think that one's only like maybe a minute long.
Yeah, it was pretty short.
Super, super short, and it's super basic, and the coloring isn't great, like the texture mapping isn't there. It doesn't really feel much like a Pixar short at all, but it showed what they were doing, and at the time that was incredible, because this is 1984. Like, this is the year my dad graduated from college. Like, it's I don't know, it's not like, I wouldn't call it like a canonical short, but it was the beginning of what would to come very soon after, no less, because as you said, like Luxo Jr. holds up. That was only made 2 years later, which blows my mind.
I think that helps too, because they still have, that same logo that they use with the little light as the eye in Pixar and everything. So it's like, okay, you see the theme with that one more so than you do with Andre and Wally B, because, that one was so short. You're like, oh, okay. It didn't quite have a lesson in it. Like, I think some of the more current shorts do. I think, you watch some of them and you're like, okay, I get the message that they're getting across here, but with that one, it's just like, hey, look what we can do. And they've definitely evolved a lot over the years since that one, obviously.
Right. And, up through, I guess 2003, when Bounden came out, that was the first one that they had that actually had any sort of like speech.
Yes.
Everything up to that point didn't. So what was really cool about Luxo Jr. was it wasn't much of a story, but there was a short narrative to it. It was like I always pictured it as like a mother and son playing with this ball, and there's like disappointment, and like there was a little bit of a story there, which made it interesting and somewhat compelling. As opposed to The Adventures of Andre and Wally B, which was basically just somebody running away from the bee. Like, there was a story there, but it was a lot less basic. Like, what they were trying to do with Luxo Jr. was show off the tech, but also show that they were able to like convey like emotion and story through characters that are made of inanimate objects and no dialogue. And that's what led to Toy Story and another short between Toy Story and then called Red Stream that came out a year later, which was about like a little unicycle. Did you watch that one?
Yeah,
I really liked that one.
It had a very
it's super goofy, but it's also like sad.
Yeah, and the music had like a very noir feel to it. You were like, it seemed like you were
Yeah.
watching something from like the 1920s based on the music choice. I was like, this is kind of cool, but you know, it at the same time it was sad.
Yeah, those first Lasseter shorts, like Red's Dream, Tin Toy, Knick Knack, these all, they led up to Toy Story. They're saying, okay, like, we can make a story with inanimate objects, with toys. That's interesting, and it's compelling. And with Toy Story, they were able to add speech. Obviously, it was a much bigger production at the time, but yeah, I love those original shorts. Like, I have gone back and watched Knick Knack and Tin Toy a dozen times. The baby from Tin Toy creeps me out to no
Yes,
end.
okay.
Like, it's
Not
super,
just me.
super scary. But I always loved Knick Knack. I just thought it was like so clever and so well done. And it's those shorts as well as Jerry's Game, which was like the first one that I really remember watching. That was on A
Same.
Bug's Life.
Yeah.
It was those ones that like really got me thinking about my first like choice for a career. And I didn't end up going down that route, but as a kid, like I wanted to work for Pixar since I was like 7 years old. That was like a dream of mine, and it never came to fruition, but it was like something that I thought about all the time. And when a new Pixar movie came out, I was usually more excited for the short than I was for the actual movie. Because like for the movie, it's like, okay, I have an idea of what I'm getting for the trailers,
Right.
but the short was always a surprise. I had no idea what was coming, and so when I was sitting in the theater, I was always just like, yes, what is it? And it never let me down.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the baby in Tin Toy because my notes here literally say that baby looks terrifying.
Yeah, that's been a pretty common criticism over the years. It's super, super, super creepy. But that short won an Academy Award, so you can't knock it too much.
Yeah. I was like, well, that explains why all the toys are under the couch hiding from the baby.
Yeah, yeah, that's such a cute story though, because like the little toy, he feels bad, and like
Yeah.
you're able to convey like there's empathy from a toy to a person, which is interesting. I mean, Tin Toy really that led to Toy Story, and I think it was released with Toy Story on like the home release at least.
Yeah. Plus, with Jerry's Game, I felt like that was really a vast improvement on just sort of the look and the feel of the animated shorts because, like you, that was one of the first ones I remember watching. And I was like revisiting it and it hit me. I was like, I've definitely seen this more than once too. So
Oh
it
yeah.
was one that really kind of stuck with me. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this little old man.
Yeah, I remember doing a presentation in grade school about that. I don't remember what it was, but it was like in our computer class, and we had to. It was when we were first learning how to use like Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and stuff. And I remember putting together a presentation about Pixar and their shorts and Jerry's Game. Like I I embedded the entire video in the PowerPoint and just made my entire class watch it because I loved it so much at the time. It's so goofy, but the character modeling was so much better than the baby.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Jerry was like the first, like, I guess, human, really? I mean, I guess in Toy Story, there were humans, but you didn't see like a whole lot of them. They were just kind of in the background. This was like the first, like, real human-centered short, at least.
Yeah, I did notice that they would sort of focus more on toys or animals or something like that, or even, like you said, inanimate objects, and they would just make them come to life. But I also noticed that they seem to have quite a few that involve birds, so Pixar just must really like birds. Yeah.
I think that toys and birds are probably, their skeletal structures are less complex.
Yeah.
So I think they're easier to model
True.
than humans, and it's really hard to get fingers right, but it's not so hard to get, like a three-toed bird.
Yeah, that is very, very true.
Or monsters. I mean, like they didn't have like a fully human animated feature until The Incredibles.
Yeah.
And even after that, like they still made Cars and Wall-E. Like a lot of their stories are not based around humans, which is good because I think it allows kids to like, pick up morality, like the lessons that Pixar tries to convey in their movies. I think that kids are able to pick up on that and apply them to their own relationships. But the magic about Pixar is that they don't have to use humans as a, like a device for those lessons to come across. I think that's really useful because, kids have a hard time, I don't know, depending on how they're raised, I guess. Kids can have a hard time looking at all people the same, because of biases that they're taught either in school or by their parents. So when they're able to learn a lesson through toys or cars or rats or monsters, they can apply that to anybody that they meet in their real life. It doesn't just have to be somebody that looks like them or is in their social circles. Like they're able to see like, okay, like this person is, they're cast out because they're not as good at this other thing. But what they learned from Monsters Inc. and, other stories like that is that being different isn't necessarily bad, and you just have to find what it is that you're good at. So that's the great thing about Pixar is they teach lessons. Like they're really good movies narratively and they look beautiful, but they also teach lessons. And I think, maybe Jerry's Game isn't like a, a really great lesson or anything. It's just sort of goofy, but I think in general, that's something that Pixar excels at, with using things that are non-human to convey human emotions and how we should treat other people.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do with Bounden too, which you mentioned was the one that had, spoken parts in it finally. And, that comes quite a bit later. And I remember when I was watching it, I picked up on this, and one of the characters was like, what color you are doesn't matter. And even though he mentions pink and purple and, like colors that people wouldn't be, but sure. It's the same general statement. So they really push the lesson with that one, I think. And, because the others are mostly silent or just, they have music to them. This one, it felt like a huge step in a different direction for them. And
oh, yeah, me too.
They put forward a huge message in it too.
Yeah, like Bounden it's one of my favorites just because it's so like they fit a ton into it. Yeah. I mean, it's a full story just condensed into it, just a very few moments, but it's fun, and there's a song, and like that's, like I said, it's like the first time there's actual speech. But the animation itself, like, For the Birds was really funny. It was really good. I thought like, wow, like this looks amazing. But when Bounden came out, I was like, wow, like Pixar really stepped it up. I feel like Bounden and The Incredibles were huge leaps forward as far as their animation and their technology went. Rightly so. It'd been 3 years since the last movie, so as fast as Pixar grows, like 3 years is a heck of a long time. So that was like the start of a new era, I felt.
Yeah, I really like how some of these use a lot of physical comedy too. Like when you watch Presto, the rabbit really wants that carrot, and he goes through this whole elaborate thing to get the magician to give him the carrot. And it's just a ton of physical comedy, and you have the audience there watching the show, and they just eat it up. And I feel like we are that same audience. We're like, yes, this is fantastic, even though it doesn't necessarily have like some huge message behind it. It's kind of like, all right, this one was a very fun time.
Yeah, it was weird because they came out with Bounden that had speech through song. And then they went back to a silent streak. One-man band lifted Presto. They were all completely silent. Like there was no speech, but there was a lot of physical comedy, like you say. Presto is great. I think that might be one of my all-time favorites. Yeah, like it's just so clever. But Presto is also has Lifted also has sort of like a little soft spot in my heart, just because it's. I just like the stories about kids that are trying to learn stuff and just messing up and learning that it's okay. Like learning is trial and error, and that story is just funny because it's it's just like this little kid alien who's like basically taking his driver's test.
Yeah.
But he's testing on an actual human being who's just trying to sleep and for some reason won't wake up despite the fact that he's being literally bounced around his room. I don't know, that one's just absurd, but it was kind of weird because they went back to sort of a silent streak, and I feel like a lot of their shorts are silent. Like they're heavily focused on music and story, but not so much on speech.
Yeah, with Lifted, I made the note. I was like, that's kind of what I look like in front of a mixing board in a recording studio, because you have all the knobs, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do the business track.
Yeah, I was more or less the same.
Recording a podcast is much easier when you only have a few knobs to deal with, but when it's an entire
Yeah,
mixing
it's
board,
press
you're like,
record and go.
okay, which one is which? Okay, what's going to what? And then you have to like label everything every time you go in there. It's crazy. But yeah, that's kind of what that reminded me of. I was like, yep, that's kind of what I look like in front of a mixing board.
Yeah, those ones are really fun. Like One Man Band, I used to watch that one a lot. It was attached to Cars, which was not my favorite feature by any means, but One Man Band was just really funny. Like the emotion that they were able to actually convey on the faces of their human characters at this point really excelled. I think The Incredibles again was like a huge step forward for that. Like, the way that um, you know, the kids would like stick out their lips or something when they were upset. They did some of that in One Man Band. Like they just did a lot more movement with the characters and a lot more facial movement with the characters, which I think went a long way. Um, and Presto just sort of like took that to the max, literally electrocuting people and and all the crazy shenanigans that the rabbit did to the magician. I really like that one too. But
Yeah.
yeah. But what about Partly Cloudy? Like I this one I'm not quite as keen on this one. I don't know if it's because it's not maybe quite as standard as the other ones were as far as like Pixar animation goes.
Yeah, there was still that sort of physical comedy aspect to it with the stork getting pretty beat up by all of the, baby animals and creatures that this cloud was giving them to deliver. But I was like, I guess I get it. But then at the same time, I was like, that one's kind of a pass for me.
Yeah, I don't feel quite as attached to Partly Cloudy and Day and Night. Like those ones, they're not quite what I
Day and Night is super
remember when I
different
think about
style
them.
wise.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think that's probably why. I don't know. This is I mean, at this point, I was a little bit older. So,
Right.
I'm not like watching Pixar movies every day like I used to when I was a kid. But yeah, those ones I kind of passed up on. But then La Luna came out, and I love that short.
Yeah. And it made things a little more diverse too. They were getting a little more creative with the stories they were telling and sort of targeting a wider audience, I feel like.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that.
Because, like La Luna, you then have later on Sanjay's super team. And,
Yeah.
that one is definitely sort of along those same lines where it's like, okay, you're learning about this boy's culture, but in a sort of a superhero fashion. And I feel like that made it a little more relatable for a lot of kids, because then you also have him not really wanting to do what his dad wants him to do, and what kid hasn't felt that way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that actually preparing for this episode was the first time I watched that one. What movie did that come out with? It came out with The Good Dinosaur, which I still haven't seen.
I haven't seen that either. So I think this was the first time I had also watched it. But when I watched it, I was like, wow, this one's really good.
I don't know. I guess after Brave, I just wasn't like quite as keen on seeing them as soon as they came out.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they're bad, because Inside Out is probably one of my top 5. I love that movie.
Right.
But yeah, The Good Dinosaur I skipped. I skipped the short with it, but it was really cute. Like it's Pixar at its finest, like taking a concept like, differences in religion and turning it into something that the kids maybe are interested in right now, like superheroes. Yeah, I like that a lot. It was a really, really cool short. And after that though, oh wait, we skipped
a few.
Brew Umbrella,
Yes.
which was different. That one was really different too, but I thought it was cool. It was it felt more like a college like demo, like a college project, animation project sort of feel.
Yeah.
Which is cool in a way, because it kind of harkens back to the original Pixar shorts, but it was very different. But I did like that one too. And then Lava, I have a soft spot for that, but that's just because it's a really good song.
Yeah, and that's
I listen to that song. They have like that song out in several languages, and they're all like really good. I really like the Italian one.
And that's something different too, because they made this song specifically for this short, it seems like. And, they built the whole short around the song, which usually it's just background music playing. And I did notice, like in the 80s and everything, it was really something that John Lasseter was pushing, it seemed. And then as you continue on, it feels like they're almost like giving people a chance to show you what they can do with animation instead of it
Yeah.
just being, okay, John Lasseter is going to take everything and sort of form that. I don't know what exactly his role was, but I know that more people had started to get involved with the actual animation process for these shorts as time went on.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, after Steve Jobs like helped like really get Pixar off the ground.
Yeah.
Things grew a lot after the first movie came out. Obviously, they were able to hire a lot more people, and it became what it is now. But then, the cool thing about these shorts is you're right. Like John Lasseter, he did the first, several like animated shorts after Andre and Wally B. The classic ones, I guess we call it, before there was any real narrative. But then after that, they've had a different director for every single one of them. They've all been very different in their own way because of the writers and directors like being able to come in and tell their stories. And I think that's kind of what Pixar is looking for. Like they're looking for a way to like show or to give new talent a chance to show what they have in a short form. And in some cases, these people go on to work on the feature releases as well. So it's sort of like a hotbed of talent that they're pulling up and giving a chance. And that's really cool because there's been some really, really cool shorts that have come out of it, and they've done really well on their own. Like La Luna was one of the first ones that I remember hearing about online, sort of independent of the movie that it was attached to. Like that one got sent around quite a bit. I don't think it won any Academy Awards or anything, but it did really well online. It got passed around quite a bit. And then Piper, I remember seeing Piper, I think even before Finding Dory came out, because I think that was a short that maybe was produced independently and then released with the movie. But I remember seeing Piper online before I even saw Finding Dory. And I was like, wow, like just the water effects in this one they're just crazy.
Yeah, see, you are way more in touch with this stuff because I can't tell you when any of these came out with what movies or anything like that. So I think, you're a little bit more of a Pixar expert than I am here. But then you have like the obvious ones like Party Central from, I believe it was Monsters University. So you have those ones that are themed to go with the movies as sort of just like bonus content, like Mike's New Car. It's entertaining, but it's not something that necessarily needed to be in the movie, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. It's these are like bonus shorts within the universe of whatever movie that it happens to be. There are those ones like Mike's New Car. There's the one about Jack Jack.
Yes.
They've had one for most of the more modern movies, and then there's like they actually do like series of these things too. You can get Blu-rays that just have tons of shorts about Mater from Cars, which I'm not as into Cars. I haven't watched probably most of these, but I've seen like Mater and the Ghost Light and whatever. There's tons of them. But I do like the Toy Story ones. I think those are fun just because those are characters that I grew up with. But there are so many of them now that I know that I haven't seen all of them. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think as far as the theatrical ones go, Lou and Bao are the two most recent ones.
Yeah. I haven't seen Bao because I missed Incredibles 2 in theaters, so that's kind of a shame. But Lou was really good. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Again, more lessons.
Yeah, it's another one
really
that
good.
has a big lesson in it for kids.
Yeah, I like that one. It was really clever. It wasn't what I expected at all. Like, I had no idea what I was going to be getting when I came into it. I kind of expected maybe like another little like Lost and Found Toys sort of scenario. But yeah, that Lou is this like shape-shifting thing made of discarded items, so it's really cool.
Yeah, that one was really fun. And I think that sort of just goes to show how they're, like you said, they're using this talent that they have and sort of just letting people really experiment with the stories that they want to tell. And I think when you do end up watching Bao, you'll really see that with that one too, because that felt like a really unique and diverse story again, like, Sanjay's and even La Luna.
I thought maybe for a minute, like I watched Lou for the first time preparing for this episode as well, because again, I'm not I haven't seen Cars 2, let alone Cars 3. So I missed out on that one. But when I saw like Piper, Lou, Bao, and then Pearl, I guess is the next one that's coming out with whatever movie. I guess it's in development.
Okay.
I was like, is this like a series? Or are they starting to do like a series? But no, they're just kind of on a little track where they just have one name
Yeah.
shorts or something. So yeah, I want to see that new one. But yeah, I love these shorts. Like I actually I have these in like 1080p. Like I don't keep a lot of video files on my computer that are that large just because, you know, I don't need 1080p. I'm usually fine with 720. But
Right.
with these ones, they're just so beautiful and they're so short anyway that it doesn't really matter. I love to watch these things. Like, I don't know. What are your, of the theatrical ones, what would you say are your top 5?
Oh man, I am the worst at ranking things, so these are probably going to be in no order, but I think Jerry's Game is on there just because of how
Okay.
much of an impact it had, and you were like, okay, I see what they're doing here, and you really saw the improvement that Pixar was going for. And then I definitely would say Presto is probably top 2, at least. Don't ask me
Okay.
which spot, but it's up there. Bounden was really fun. I had just watched that one for the first time though, but I think it would easily go up in the top 5. And then La Luna was really great. I really enjoyed that one. And it might be for that 5th spot, like a tie for Sanjay's and Bao probably.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. Most of those are the ones I think I'd pick too. Like Jerry's Game, just for nostalgia. Like
Yeah.
that one just meant so much to me as a kid for some reason. I would say probably it's a weird, like I want to say that there's a tie between Lifted and Presto just because I like them so much. But I think Presto was probably the better short. La Luna is beautiful. Piper gives me all the feels. And geez, as a 5th one, like I really like the song in Lava. I think I'm
Yeah,
just gonna give it to
yeah.
Lava. Yeah, but Bounden is so good too. Like that one always like got stuck in my head. Yeah, I think
It's
I think
hard.
we probably nailed, like, I know it is hard, but I think we've nailed probably like the ones that I think a lot of people think of when they think of these shorts. I don't know, when people say Pixar shorts, Knick Knack is always the one that comes to my mind, and sometimes I wake up with like the Knick Knack song in my head. It's really strange, but yeah, that was a really special one too. Man, these are really great, and like I still wish that, you know, maybe in another life or something, I was a Pixar animator. But that's such a cool company. Like I absolutely love them, and I love everything that they make. And yeah, the shorts are a huge part of that. Like I think of the shorts probably just as often as I think of the movies.
Yeah, definitely. And now I can definitely say that I have seen more of the shorts than I have of the movies because, like you, it was like, okay, we grew up with A Bug's Life, Toy Story. I still don't think I've even seen Toy Story 3 because
Oh man,
I
you
don't
got it
know.
though.
I
It's
need
actually
to,
really
yeah.
good.
And then I fell
Yeah.
off with them a lot, and then everyone was talking about Inside Out, and I think that's when I sort of picked up on at least some of them again. And I went and saw Coco in theaters, and you and I have texted about that one before, and we were like,
Oh,
it was so
Coco.
good. It's so sad, and it's so good, and there's so many feelings.
So many feelings. Yeah, I love Coco. Like Inside Out and Coco, like they just both hit. Like Up, I remember being like the first one that like really gave me the feels.
Yeah.
Like that one was so touching right off the bat. But yeah, Inside Out and Coco are really important movies, I think. Like really important movies. And I think everybody should see them. But yeah, no, I get what you mean, especially with the shorts. Like it's easier to remember the earlier shorts because at the time when you're watching them on home video, you know, you're watching a VHS and you would have to fast forward through them
Right.
to get to the movie. Like you usually had less of a choice. Like your mom would put on the movie and then leave the room so you would watch the short. Like it was just part of the movie. But now I don't know how it is on the DVDs because I haven't used a DVD in a long time either, but I'm assuming it's probably like an option that you can choose from the menu. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Now they're like releasing them individually. Are they putting like the feature releases, like the original shorts on the DVD? Like are like Jerry's Game and For the Birds and Bound, and like are those all coming out on those like Pixar short DVDs? Do you know?
That's a good question because I've definitely seen DVDs and Blu-rays that are just literally a collection of the shorts that you can buy.
Hmm.
but I didn't look at, like what the lineup of shorts was, because I had a little bit of trouble finding some of these, because when you go on YouTube to watch
Yeah.
them, you get a lot of student projects that were like, oh,
Hmm.
I did music and hired voice actors and, kind of did a new thing for it, because a lot of people will use the Pixar shorts for like their sound projects apparently, and I was like, nope, this is not the original at all.
Yeah, I saw a lot of those ones where it's, the video was there, but it's like superimposed in a corner, and then they have like white noise behind it so they can't get taken down, or,
Yeah.
it won't automatically get taken down. That's really annoying, but yeah, I guess they've got compilations now that you can buy, that just have like Pixar Shorts Film Collection Volume 1 and Volume 2. They have one for the tiny Toy Stories. They have one for the Cars tunes.
I think you could buy them
so you
through
can
YouTube
buy a lot
too,
of these.
because I think I was seeing a lot of
Yeah.
them for like $2 each on YouTube, but I was like, sorry guys, I can't spend like $50 right now to watch all of these.
Oh yeah, so yeah, it has like the movie shorts like You're from the Rat, but it also has like Presto and
Yeah.
and like the feature ones. So those are cool little collections. I have them all downloaded individually that I at some point got from Blu-rays or whatever. But yeah, I definitely have more Pixar shorts in my library than I do the actual feature length movies. Maybe I should fix that.
Yeah, it's funny. When I went to go see Incredibles 2, I totally forgot that the shorts were a thing. Because sometimes in my head, I'll just do the math like, okay, if the movie starts at this time, I'll actually be done at this time. But when I went to Incredibles 2, I was like, oh, I didn't account for there being a short. And, I didn't really care. It was whatever. I didn't have anything that I needed to get to right away. But I was like, oh, this is pleasant by the end of it. So, I definitely recommend checking that one out. And it is really nice getting to see them in theaters, though. It had been a while. Was there one in front of Coco? Or I don't think there was.
I don't know that there was. There was a big controversy around, was it Coco or Frozen 2?
I have not seen Frozen 2.
Yeah. No, it was a combination. There was a short before Coco, but it was the Frozen short. There was a pretty long Frozen short that was playing before the movies, and it actually like got people upset because it was so long. It was hardly a short. It was like a very short feature. How long? Oh yeah. It was a 20-minute feature in the world of Frozen that played before Coco. And in a lot of cases, the theaters stopped playing them. Yeah. In a lot of places, they actually stopped playing the 21-minute Frozen short.
Oh,
just
yeah.
so that
I
they,
definitely did not
wouldn't
sit
get
through that.
the pushback.
My theater must have stopped showing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I didn't get to see Coco in theaters either, but I've watched it like a dozen times on video since. But I still have not seen this little Olaf Frozen adventure short. I'm sure it's very cute. But I would be frustrated too.
Yeah.
if like 20 minutes later I've already finished my popcorn and the movie is yet to play.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because when you get popcorn, it does not last the whole movie anyway.
No way. Like, I mean, I'm lucky if it gets through the previews as it is.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way it would make it through a 20-minute short. I would already have to go to the bathroom because I've finished my large soda.
Yeah. Sometimes I literally just sit on one of the benches outside of the theater and just skip all the previews. I'm like, okay, I have about 15 minutes before the movie actually starts. And I'll just check my phone.
You gotta see the. I guess if you go to the theaters often enough, that might be like a good thing to do. But I love the previews. Like, I like, usually if I'm going to the movies, I'm going with like my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll do that thing where like we'll watch the trailer, and at the end of it, before the next trailer starts, we'll look at each other and like either give each other a nod yes or a shake no. Like, we're gonna go see that, or not gonna go see that.
Yeah.
And it actually informs a lot of my my watch list on Letterboxd. So I love the trailers.
That is true. But yeah, because I have been using MoviePass, I've been going more than I normally would by far. So I was like, I don't really need to see a preview for, Skyscraper again.
Yeah, probably not.
And plus, then I was usually going by myself. So it's not like I really needed to confirm with anyone whether we are going to see a movie or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the next like Pixar feature that's set to come out? Do we even know?
I have no idea. I'm really bad at keeping up with these things. Until they put a preview or a trailer in front of my face, I probably won't know.
Huh. Let's see. I wonder if I can find this. There's got to be like a list of Pixar.
You have internet. You can look.
I know. That's what I'm trying to do.
It's probably going to be like Cars 4.
No, it's Toy Story 4. Yep. So yeah, the next
I was close.
the next Pixar movie is Toys 4. That's the one. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have anything else planned. That's strange. Like, don't they usually plan like several ahead? I wonder what the holdup is.
Yeah, because it takes them so long to work on them too. Wasn't Coco like a 6-year process?
Yeah, I mean, they showed trailers for Coco like almost 2 years in advance. Like I saw my first teaser for that like 2 years before it even came out, and I thought, oh man, that's not gonna be very good. And then it ended up being like my favorite of all time. But wow, yeah, it's so strange. Like I remember a few years ago they announced like Good Dinosaur, Finding Dory, Cars 3, and Coco like all at the same time, and then they all kind of came out. But now we've got Toy Story 4, and that's it. I didn't even know they were making another Toy Story. I thought that was done.
I guess I really do need to go watch Toy Story 3 now, don't I?
Yeah. Okay, so there's 5 untitled projects slated for March 2020, June 2020, June 2021, and then 2 for 2022. So
Yeah. They don't do like massive release schedules necessarily. I think, 1 to 2 a year is probably the max, even though they have a bigger staff now, just because of how time consuming that is.
Oh man, the next 4 of them are set to be original films, so that's good because I feel like the sequels have really been lacking. So 4 more originals. One of them may be a suburban fantasy film, which takes place in a post-magical world without humans and populated with elves, trolls, and sprites, where unicorns are as common as rodents. That sounds totally in my vein. Cool.
It almost sounds like Harry Potter without the people.
Hey, I'm all right with that. Yeah, cool. Man, I love Pixar. I'm going to have to read that book so we can talk more about Pixar.
Yeah, I am getting through Thrawn Alliances right now, and then I will add it to the list. I also have to do some Harry Potter rereading, actually, because I'm going to podcast on the books, too.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Actually, I would suggest to you, because I know you like listening to things and it's a lot easier than reading, listen to the Jim Dale audiobooks. They're fantastic. They're absolutely wonderful. Not Stephen Fry. Don't listen to the Stephen Fry ones. The Jim Dale ones. They're fantastic. It's almost always the way I choose to go if I want to revisit the Harry Potter world. Like, I'll just re-listen to those in a couple weeks because they're fantastic.
Yeah, it is a lot of reading, so I might have to do that because you know me, I will listen to
it's
hours upon hours of stuff.
Yeah, it's good, and you can always like speed up the speech a little bit. Yeah. I feel like for the story ones, I don't go like
it's a
full
little
2x,
harder.
but
Yeah,
like 1.5. Yeah, 1.5.
Yeah, I think I'm a notch under 2x right now on my podcasts.
Yeah, I'm full 2x with smart speeds still, so it's a problem. But you know what? It's like one of those things where when you're around people, I generally don't listen to my podcasts out in the open. Like, I usually have my headphones on, but every once in a while, like I'll be at work or something, and I would have like a space apart from everybody else where I'd be able to turn it on, and it wouldn't bother anybody. But then if somebody came and like past my space, they would hear it, and then they would be like, "What are you listening to?" And my answer would usually be like, "You now." Like dropping it, like, please leave. But no. Yeah, they're always like, why how can you listen to it that fast? And
I get that question too.
It's a work in progress. It's not like I just started doing it, it's
you have to slowly build up to it.
It is an illness. But
listening at 1x is so weird now. I'm like, it's so slow.
Yeah, it's like they're drunk. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But so 100 episodes. That's crazy. What you got planned for the next 100 episodes?
Right now, I am going through the Mission Impossible movies, so that is going to continue.
Okay.
We have done the first 2 so far, and then I put that on pause to do episode 100, and then I'll probably pick up with 3 again after this, just because that is the single Mission Impossible movie we own. I have no idea why. It really bothers me that we do this too. Like, we have sequels, but we don't have the movies that come before it, and I'm just like, what? Who let us do this?
Well, it's usually because like you're able, like, whatever you use to rent movies for the first 2, like you saw them renting them from Best, or Blockbuster or whatever, and so you didn't have to buy them. But then Blockbuster goes out of business, and you're like, okay, well, we don't have Redbox yet, so what do we do? So then you buy it in the dollar bin at Walmart, and that's why you own it. Like
Yeah.
in my case, like that's how it always was. Or I'd buy them from like movie stores that were going out of business. Like, oh, this is I'll get this, and then I'll pick up the other one later. No, I won't. I'll just have Terminator 3 on my shelf forever,
Yeah.
alone with no special features because it was from a movie rental place. But yeah, it's weird how that happens. It's strange what actually collects over time. Like my parents' VHS collection is a lot like that. It's just the strangest compilation of films that.
Yeah, and we never really went to Blockbuster, so my guess is that it was on sale at Best Buy, and we were like, oh, Mission Impossible, let's buy it. And it was just,
Yeah.
the most recent one at the time, and we were like, oh, we don't have the first two. But those weren't on sale probably, so we didn't bother.
There's a reason Best Buy has like 7 of those dollar bins located
Yeah.
around the store. Whatever's on top.
Yeah, so I will be rewatching 3 because I know I've seen it even though I hadn't seen the first 2.
Well, that's great. Like it's a good way to lock down. How many are there now? Like 6? So you got
Yeah.
like 6 episodes
Yeah, there are
out of that
6.
series?
Yeah.
That's clever. That's good thinking. That'll get you on your way.
I did an episode that was all of the Harry Potter movies in one, and I was like, man, I could have really milked that for 8 episodes.
Yeah, that's a lot of movies. I mean, that's 7 or 8. They made 8 movies out of that.
Yeah,
didn't
because I think they split book
They split the
7
last
into
one?
2 movies.
they Hunger Gamed it.
But I'll get 7 episodes out of the books as I make my way through those. So, we have a lot of series coming up, I guess, for now. And then, we will
Yeah.
get to that Pixar book. We will be back for regular Pixar talk.
Yeah, hopefully I can read that at some point. I gotta work on my reading game, but that's part of my goal for this fall.
Yeah, well, just keep me updated. Dibs are all yours.
Good. Yeah, I'll hang on to that. I'm sorry I couldn't do Coco. Coco, like I wanted to do Coco. You asked me like 2 or 3 times if
It's
I do
okay.
Coco, and I can't do it. I just feel like I love that movie so much. For so many reasons, but I feel like I'm just not the person to talk about it. Like I feel like as much as it like emotionally affects me, it doesn't have anything to do with like my culture. So I feel like I wouldn't have anything of worth to say. I feel like there's always somebody better to talk about that with than me.
Megan and I
Even
gushed about
that
it.
said, I'm
so
gonna watch it again this week. Yeah.
we did get it covered, so no worries there.
That's good. All right, cool. Well, Deanna, thank you so much for having me on not only this one but the 50 as well. Like it's cool to watch you continue to do this show. It's amazing. I wish that I had.
Yeah, I think we got really nerdy for episode 50 with the digital storage there.
Yeah, probably too nerdy. Like,
Maybe a little bit.
people are
but-
probably just skipping my episodes. They're like, God, he just like really gets into the weeds about file systems. But no, I do appreciate it.
I don't know. I think the Frank Ocean one blew up because people thought Frank Ocean was on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, Deanna, I gotta tell you, running a Frank Ocean fan site that now has an email address is a strange experience.
I bet.
I'm getting several emails a week from people thinking that they're reaching the man himself, and it's really hard to email them. Like I could just leave the emails there to decay, but I don't want them like thinking
He's ignoring them.
like maybe he's seeing them and he's just ignoring them, because I feel like that would just like knock him down. So I've had to like reply to like a dozen people already at this point saying like, I'm sorry to say that you've reached a fan site. I don't know how you got to email this address without knowing it was a fan site, because it says that on the page where this address is listed, but
People don't read.
I wish you the best. No, like people are sending me like advanced copies of their like student films and stuff, like private screeners of movies that aren't out yet, because they're asking for like licensing permission to use Frank Ocean songs in their film. So it's
Yeah.
like it's sort of a strange thing. It's like your movie looks great, but I'm sorry to say I'm not Frank. Like of course I'm gonna click it. Like I'm not Frank Ocean, but you're sending me a link, I'm gonna look at it. Yeah, it's a strange thing, but yeah, I'm glad that episode did well. It's good.
Yeah.
Frank Ocean's he's doing well in the podcast space right now with Dissect.
I
and
don't know how
everything,
many
so.
people were disappointed when he wasn't on it and just turned it off, but it got the downloads.
You got the downloads. That helps. It does keep building up. You can use that to get more sponsors, so doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is something I have been slacking on. I kind of just want the
Oh, it's
podcast
hard.
to eventually pay for itself. I was like, $20 a month. That's like all I need right now. And then maybe
Yeah.
pay me for my time down the line at some point.
Yeah, now monetizing podcasts is hard. That's why, like, we're trying something different at Breaker, and Anchor's doing some different things,
Yeah.
and Overcast is gonna open up a new tag for like payment links in the app, and yeah, it's a weird space, but I'm hoping that something shakes out so that more people can get paid, because getting advertisers is just the hardest thing. So I think right now there's just a big push for trying to find ways to get podcasters paid without having to connect them with businesses that are, willing to pay them. And if they are willing to pay them, you still have to chase down the invoices. And
Yeah. Yeah, I will be dealing with that soon as I start an official
right.
role in Jabberjaw.
That's right. No, congratulations on that too. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
I'm happy for you.
It'll definitely be fun. It's not full time or anything, so I can still have plenty of time to apparently start another podcast because I'm crazy.
Nah. Yeah, I don't know if you've teased that one out yet, but that one does sound cool.
I'm working on it. I was like, all right, got to get a logo done, and then got to start recording, because it'll take so much time. And for anyone who doesn't know by now, I'm starting a Stephen King podcast going through his work and adaptations, mostly chronologically. It'll be a little different. I'll explain that on that show though. And just because of the amount of time it takes to read some of his books, I feel like I really need to get a head start just so I can give people time to actually read some of this stuff. I think right now people have claimed like the first 7 books and movies and stuff. So I should be able to get like hopefully 10 or 12 episodes done before I actually launch it, because I don't want to launch it and be like rushing every week to find someone to record.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to. Like I talk to people about that all the time. Like if you're gonna start a new show, don't feel like you have to put that first one out there. I think Merlin Mann and John Siracusa recorded like 4 or 5 episodes of Reconcilable Differences before they even put out one, and I think they trashed the first 2 or 3 because they're just working things out. They don't know how the show's gonna go. Like, go ahead and record, like do all your experimentation before you put it out, because there's that old adage where you have a lifetime to put out your first record and 2 to 3 years to put out your second. So once you get that out there, like people are going to expect more. I feel like you should take as much time as you feel you need to make it right before you actually start the thing. So I think having a backlog is a great idea, and that's actually why I love like podcasts like Serial, or I guess Serial like does go week to week, but they do a lot of their prep ahead of time, so they're able to put things out in seasons. I really like that. I think that's like super beneficial for the producer, so there's not quite as much pressure on them to create stuff every week, because time is a factor, and especially when you have other things going on, that can be hard. So
yeah, I might consider the seasonal thing too, and do it like each decade is a season or something like that, just for the sake of maybe having a little more time. But we'll see how these first few go.
Yeah, you can, and when you do it that way, you're able to put a lot of more effort into the actual production of the thing, so you can do neat stuff. Like I don't know if this is something that you would ever want to do with a book podcast like that, but being able to do some more production and like scoring and stuff like that, like really make each episode its own cohesive thing. Is a lot easier than just throwing something together on a 2-week cycle. That's hard.
Like
it's
I do with this.
Nearly impossible. Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm saying it's crazy that you've done 100 episodes of this. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, I did have a decent backlog of episodes, but with the internet problems recently, I didn't get quite as many recorded this past week or so as I would have hoped. So right now I have, this episode and episode 99, and that's it. And then I have to figure out everything else within the next 2 weeks.
Hey, that's what the backlog is for. Like, you build up a backlog for when things like that come up. When I was doing variable bitrate, I had a plan to do this whole backlog so I could take off the holiday season but still have episodes coming out.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have to do any work because I did it ahead of time, and none of that worked, and I quit the podcast instead. But
that's also fine.
I tried. Yeah. Well, this has been great. Thank you again so much for having me on, and best of luck with at least the next 50. If you have me on, maybe I'll have that book finished by 50.
Take your time. I know I read at a much faster rate than normal people do, so don't worry about it. We can plan far ahead. I can give you a few months at least.
Okay,
maybe
all
more.
Right.
We can
good.
do it next year if we need to.
Well, I got that, and I've got that Stephen King book I got to reread. too. So you're giving me all kinds of homework,
Yes.
which isn't good because I'm starting my new semester on Monday.
I
So I'm gonna have a
apologize.
whole bunch of actual homework. It's all right. I'll figure it out.
I think you would be episode like 7 or so with the Stephen King podcast. So if I
Okay.
start recording one a week, I think you'll still have, a couple months here, because I won't be starting it until I actually have internet again, probably, because, you and I can record just via a phone call because we both record on our end, but not everyone does that, or
It's true.
it would be weird for some people. So that's probably why I didn't think of it in the first place. So thank you for making me realize I could, in fact, still podcast without internet. That's a good thing to know.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said before we started, like I've recorded podcasts over so many different mediums. It's insane. And you know what? I think I actually prefer Discord to Skype or anything else. I know this is in the weeds and we're trying to finish the episode, but
It's fine.
I just saying I tried that recently and I love it because like Discord is so reliable with their speech communication. It's great. I wouldn't say it's like great if you have to record their end,
Right.
but if you're able to record on both ends, it's very nice because it's super low data usage. You're just sending basically little tiny snippets, and their limiting is really great too.
You should definitely send me the link for that and I can check it out. Maybe we can record an episode through that next time. We'll just cover all the different ways to record an episode by the time, we're done podcasting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jacob, for being willing to come on for these milestone episodes with me. I figured since you helped me kick off the podcast, I would give you first dibs at some of these first couple milestones here. So, Pixar was definitely a good choice. I had a lot of fun watching these shorts, and I know we just went on like a 20-minute tangent, but that's what you get when Jacob and I talk.
That seems about right, though. Yeah, I think that happens every time. Sorry, listeners.
They'll be fine. If they want to turn it off after the shorts, that's fine. I have podcast chapters. We're good.
Cool.
And to our listeners, as always, thank you all for listening, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Later.